You know, I really hope these rumors come to fruition in regards to Resident Evil 8. I really hope that Resident Evil 8 is first person, not necessarily because I think first person is best for Resident Evil. However, I hope that it's first person just to piss you fake Resident Evil fans off. Because again, this franchise is now infested with a bunch of fake Resident Evil fans. They came from Fortnite to this all new edition of Resident Evil 2. And now they think they have that certified badge. Oh, Michael. But the reality of the situation, folks, is they don't have that certified badge. World-class veteran video game critic Michael Does Life has that certified badge. I've been there since day one. I'm a real Resident Evil fan. Yeah, and the more we learn about Resident Evil 8, the more it's starting to make a little bit more sense. I mean, after all, this franchise has to move forward in a way that does make sense. And they can't keep going back if they want to push this franchise forward. You know what I mean? And to see Capcom, again, according to the latest rumor, to see Capcom saying, hey, we're going to stick with our original, new wave of survival horror experiences that Resident Evil 7 put in place and kind of continue that here with Resident Evil 8, that is surprisingly good news. Now, will the lazy millennial devs over at Clueless Capcom hit that home run? It's really hard to say, because while you look now back on Resident Evil 7 and you sit there and say, well, man, maybe they actually did something there. It's still not a perfect game. You know what I mean? It's not really scary. It's got a bunch of popcorn jump scares like this all-new edition of Resident Evil 2 does. But when you compare Resident Evil 7 to this all-new edition of Resident Evil 2, it is a much stronger experience because they at least put their foot forward and said, hey, let's try and do something new with this franchise. And the thing is, a lot of fake Resident Evil fans are afraid of change. Even, folks, if it's change for the better, and that is very clear. But this Resident Evil 8 word, this rumor, that we've been hearing about it being first person, Ethan returning, wintry setting, castle, werewolves, so on and so forth. It doesn't necessarily sound all that interesting, but here's the thing. You can have a great idea, and if the execution is garbage, it doesn't matter. So the thing is, if this is a bad idea, but the execution is where it needs to be, this ultimately could turn out to be a really solid experience, worthwhile experience. And I would rather see this franchise move forward than Capcom going back and destroying greatness. Because I'm, folks, still waiting for Capcom to remake Resident Evil 2. They didn't remake Resident Evil 2. It's an all-new Resident Evil game that's loosely inspired by Resident Evil 2 1998. And the same with this all-new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3. Capcom didn't remake Resident Evil 3. It's an all-new Resident Evil game that's loosely inspired by Resident Evil 3 Nemesis 1999. You can disagree until the cows come home. I couldn't care less. Just because you disagree, it doesn't mean that world-class veteran video game critic Michael Does Life is wrong. But if this rumor does come to fruition and Resident Evil 8 is first person, folks, there may very well be light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean?